Hey guys, Luca here, thanks for jumping into another video. Today we're diving into Bitcoin and whether it has bottomed out on the lower time frames or if we will see a continuation after this breakdown from this rising wedge. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on future updates like this. Now let's get into it. So first, I want us to have a look at one of my latest updates on Bitcoin, in which I said that I totally understand the hype and euphoria, but as always, we need to stay level-headed in the markets, and we need clear confirmations before flipping overly bullish. Now, here's the thing, in the markets, nobody really knows what's gonna happen next. So we only have a certain amount of data that we analyze, and we need to analyze the potential outcomes that could take place given that data. So here I said that even though I would like to be bullish, and even though I'm bullish on the high time frames, the low time frames is a different discussion. And relief rallies feel great after a long downtrend, but Bitcoin still needs to reclaim the 0.618 level and the $90,000 to $92,000 support range before we can call this a true breakout. Here we were around $87,000, and I also said that meanwhile liquidity levels are stacking below with billions in fresh longs coming to the party. So until we see a clear structural change, the best approach would be the cautious one. And this is why I also said that low time frames are a bit uncertain, and in my opinion, it's best to wait for further developments before taking positions. So now moving to the charts, we see that Bitcoin has broken below the support line of this rising wedge, which in the past has acted as a support, and the price bounced each time it got tested, but now it failed to hold and we broke below it. So now there comes the question on whether this is a genuine breakdown and this will end up being a full-on capitulation event once again, or if this time is more bullish than not. But first I want us to have a look at what happened in the past so we can understand what will happen next. So moving back to late February, we see that a similar phase preceded the liquidation cascade we've seen here, which led to a 21% correction in a matter of a few days. Now, what actually preceded this was a series of untapped lows. Now, the series of untapped lows, what this does is it lures investors and traders especially into positions in which they believe that this marginal series of higher lows is bullish and it will lead to structural change moving forward, such as an impulse up, right? So they take long positions, and they also set their stop losses just at the nearest low. So for example, if I would want to take a long position here, I would set my stop loss at the nearest low, which would be this one. And similar to this, if I would want to take a long position here, I would set my stop loss at the nearest low, which would be the 13th of January lows. And what this does is, by building these liquidity levels on top of each other, if there is some bad event taking place or some news coming out, similar to what we've seen in late February with all of the tariffs fears and recession fears and so forth, that leads to a very steep correction as all of these stop losses get triggered all of a sudden. Now, the reason behind why I believe these liquidation cascades occur in the first place is that market makers can accumulate by forcing an artificial counterparty. What this means is a stop loss of a long position equals a forced sell order that needs a buy order to get filled. And so what I believe is that market makers intentionally set up these higher highs and liquidity levels, then they trigger all of these, and so they have a counterparty to trade with by filling all of the sell orders of retail traders. Now, a similar thing happened once again in early March, in which we had a very similar series of untapped lows that also preceded a very steep correction. This one was around 17%. Now, here, moving to the present, we see a very similar formation once again, in which we are forming continuous higher lows on the lower time frames, and retail was once again really excited at these levels. And then I came with my contrarian views that until we see a clear structural change, which would imply a clear break above the prior breakdown point at $92.8 thousand, it's best to keep the cautious hat on. Okay, so this is what I said. And again, since January, we've essentially been in a downtrend, right? And until things change, we are still in a downtrend. And this is the harsh reality that we have to face. So far, Bitcoin has failed to form a single higher high, right? So until now, we only had lower highs. So until Bitcoin manages to form an actual higher high, breaking above the prior breakdown point at $92.8 thousand, I don't think it's wise to be overly bullish, especially on the low time frames. And as much as I would like to be bullish on the low time frames, until we see these confirmations, at least a break above this 0.618 level, and then a reclaim of this as a support range and then bounce on higher, I think it's best to be more cautious and have a more conservative approach. Now there comes the question on where will Bitcoin actually bottom out. I have two scenarios for this. The first one would be that Bitcoin bottoms out somewhere in this support range. So this is my current base case. I think leaning bullish this time will be wise, as a lot of people are expecting a full-on capitulation event and a sweep of these lows. Now, of course, I said this would be very possible if Bitcoin fails to hold this support range. And so what I would look for in the coming days is to see Bitcoin showing a lot of relative strength here, a lot of bullish divergences forming on strength indicators and so forth, and then a bounce on higher and potentially even a reclaim of this prior support range. Again, this remains one of our biggest concerns on the lower time frames, in order to get a confirmation that this is indeed a true breakout. We need to see a break above this prior breakdown point in order to flip bullish once again on the lower time frames and confirm that this is indeed a true breakout. We've tested this range once again, and this was a high time frame support range, which then acted as a resistance range. And until we reclaim it, this is not where we want to be bullish, really. So again, this is what I'll track moving forward. Now, if Bitcoin fails to hold this support range, then it would most likely mean that we'll see a sweep of the lows at $76,000 and then a bottoming formation somewhere in this high time frame demand range before the long awaited reversal. Now, on an Elliott wave perspective, this could be seen as a completed 1 to 5 corrective move. That means that this was the first wave, then we had wave 2, then wave 3, and this whole rising wedge would actually be a wave 4, which then precedes the last leg down, wave 5, which forms a lower low. And so this is where we'll end this downtrend that started all the way in January. And so it would certainly make a whole lot of sense to see Bitcoin bottoming out in this high time frame support range before our next reversal to the upside. And as I highlighted in one of my latest videos regarding a potential cycle top on Bitcoin moving forward, I think this reversal will be key to track. and the confluences that will emerge with it. As if this move fails to form a new high above this prior all-time high, so above this range, and so we would see something like this, and then, you know, like a range starting here, this would present serious risks that the cycle top is in. So make sure you check out my video regarding that potential cycle top. You can check it out here in the corner. Now, returning to what I was saying, this is something really important to track moving forward, is if this range fails to hold, then there's a high risk that Bitcoin will go at these levels before bottoming out. So it would certainly flush a lot of the bulls that are still left, and I think it would be the perfect capitulation event in order to flush out everyone from the market right before the long-awaited reversal. So this has been the video for today. It's been a short update. If you guys like this sort of short updates and you would like to see them more often here on the YouTube channel, let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that like button and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on future updates like this. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.